Hi everyone, my name is Devine and I'm a massage therapist here in the city of Calgary, and I own the Lymph Balance Centre, which is located in South Calgary, and we are a specialized team of massage therapists who have specialized in working with the immune system and helping with people's lymphatic issues. So I was a massage therapist starting way back in 2002, so I've been practicing for almost 20 years, and I decided I need to try something new. Everybody was doing massage and I needed something that was a little bit different, and I stumbled upon lymphatic drainage therapy and I fell in love. It has been my passion ever since, and I teach for the Chickley Health Institute as well, which is based out of the United States with Dr. Bruno Chickley. So I teach lymphatic drainage therapy around the world, and it has brought me absolutely so much pleasure, so much joy, and it is such a blessing to be able to share my passion with practitioners, clients, therapists, as many people as I possibly can. So I'm so excited that you are joining me today. We're going to talk a little bit about how to boost your lymphatics. And by doing that, you are boosting your immune system. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen, and you're going to see this beautiful presentation I've created. And I'm going to walk you through step by step about how to boost your immune system with your lymphatics. All right, so a lot of people believe that the lymphatic system was recently discovered. And the reason why people believe that is that you go on Facebook, you go on social media, and everybody's like, oh, the lymphatic system was just discovered. It wasn't just discovered. The problem is that it's been known about for many, 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 many years. But recently there's been a more excitement, a little bit more interest and intrigue into what is the lymphatic system and how it works. So even as far back as Hippocrates and Aristotle, they knew about the lymphatic system. They just didn't know how it worked. So they were able to document and talk about these white blood vessels or this colorless fluid in these vessels. And they didn't know what it was, but they knew about it, and it was recognized that it was different than the cardiovascular system. Now, the lymphatic system is filled with different things. And now this is a very simplistic list of what is in the lymphatic system, but 96% of your lymph is water. The rest of it, the other 4%, could be cells, proteins. We could be looking at digestive fats. We could be looking at hormones, antibodies, lymphatic cells. So many things are in your lymphatic fluid. So most people know and understand the basic cardiovascular system. So on this picture, you'll see that there's the red, which is oxygenated blood. And that means that it has gone to the lungs, it has received oxygen, and it is being now pumped out to the rest of the body. And in this picture, the bottom half is showing you that it's all the capillaries, all the blood vessels around your entire body. And that includes the head, your arms, your legs, your organs, all of those. Now, when we look at the top half, that's actually talking about going to your lungs. That's the pulmonary capillary network. So that is blood that's going to your lungs and grabbing oxygen and bringing it back to your heart. So we transport all these beautiful things out to your cells, and your cells are very excited. They grab onto that oxygen and the water and the nutrients, and they're so grateful that they have what they have. But they also, when they use up the oxygen and when they consume the nutrients and the water, they create their own wastes. Every cell creates their own waste. So it used to be fully believed that almost all of that fluid, like 90 to 98% of all that waste products, were being picked up by the veins and carried back to the heart. And what they've recently discovered, like in the last 30 years, is that 90 to 98% of all the waste products that were created by the cells actually get picked up by your lymphatic system. Now, your lymphatic system, I don't like calling it sort of like the garbage. It's not garbage. It is an amazing recycling system. It's taking all the waste products. It's taking any broken down cells, cancer cells, carbon dioxide. Sometimes we're also seeing water. We're seeing proteins, hormones, anything that was in that tissue around those cells It gets picked up by the lymphatic system, and the lymphatic system's job is to take it to lymph nodes. And lymph nodes, I like to think of them, and the way I describe it to my clients is that they're like little water treatment plants. In each lymph node, you have immune cells, you have lymphocytes, and their job is to attack foreign pathogens and invaders and make that fluid as clean and clear as it possibly can. Now, most people have heard about lymph nodes, and one of the big things is that lymph nodes don't hang out by themselves. They hang out in gangs, in clusters. And the reason for that is that if you knew that the fluid going through your lymph node was going to get put right back into your bloodstream, are you okay with it only going through one water treatment plant, only going through one lymph node? Or would you think maybe if we put it through 20 or 40, maybe 100 lymph nodes, would you be okay with it then being dumped back into your bloodstream? Most people would say, yes, I don't want it to go through only one. I want it to go through as many as possible. So lymph nodes are found in clusters, and that fluid gets processed and cleaned and cleared and purified as many times as it possibly can before eventually, if you look at this diagram, you'll see the lymphatic system is the green, eventually gets it dumped back into our venous system just at the base of our neck. So at the base of your neck, you have these collarbones, and if you follow the collarbones all the way into the middle, you'll find these two balls, these two bony prominences. And right behind there is where all our lymph get dumped back into our cardiovascular system. So this is an amazing network of not only recycling, but defense and protection for our body to keep everything happy and healthy. So the other big thing you want to know is that anywhere where you have blood, you have lymph. So you have to have blood supply in order to have lymph. So we have certain tissues in our bodies that doesn't have lymph supply to help drain it. For example, the cornea of our eyes and the lens in our eyes, the cartilage in our joints. Those are big areas where we don't have cardiovascular or blood, therefore we don't have lymphatic fluid draining from that area. So your lymphatic system, just like your veins, are a one-way system. And it starts with between the cells, and it drains all the substances that it can, that pretty much the blood's not going to take back, and it drains it. Now remember, I said all the lymph in your body is trying to get to the base of your neck. So that means like 90% of your body, when you're up and vertical, is working against gravity. So just like in our veins, we have valves. So we have valves. I'm going to bring my little cursor over here so you can see there's a valve right there, and there's a valve next to it. And between a section that has valves, we call that a lymphangion. It means a lymph heart. When I went to school and I was taught about the lymphatic system, we were taught very, very little. And that's true today. Even massage therapists do it for training, physiotherapists, chiropractors, acupuncturists, even medical doctors are given a very, very small window into looking at the lymphatic system. So when I went to school, I was told the only way to move my lymph was to do big diaphragmatic breathing, and that helps, absolutely. I was told I had to move my limbs, and that helps, not wrong. And then obviously gravity. So if I had swelling in my feet, I had to put my feet up. And that's all true. All three of those things helps, but it's not the main way that our lymph moves from our cells and our tissues all around our body and eventually dumps back into our bloodstream. The lymphangion is in the larger lymphatic vessels, we have a smooth muscle. And it is autorhythmic, very similar to how your heart is autorhythmic, right? I don't think about making my heart beat 60 to 80 times a minute, thank goodness, because I'd be exhausted. In the same way, I don't think about moving lymph through my body. I have way more important things I have to think about every single day. But on average, we have 12 to 15 contractions of this beautiful, smooth muscle, and it's a spiral shaped muscle. It rotates. So it kind of milks the fluid up towards the base of my neck. And as it does that, it gets it past the next valve and past the next valve, therefore defying gravity. So I'm going to show you what this looks like This is a lymphatic vessel as it's contracting on its own. The smooth muscle is in the outer layers. Now this lymphatic vessel is not anchored onto anything, so you get a really nice view of its rotation as it's contracting. But you can also see the beautiful V-shaped valve that we have in this lymphatic vessel. And so in this video, we're actually seeing lymph being moved from the top of the screen down towards the bottom of the screen. I'm going to show you one more time. This is such an amazing video. And the fact that it does this on its own, that there is a smooth muscle inside larger vessels in the tunica media, which is the middle layer of the vessel wall, it's amazing. And the fact that it's doing this every day for me, what an immune boost. It's totally moving waste products from the tips of my toes, my fingertips, the tops of my hair. You want to talk about, sorry, tops of my head, not in my hair, but top of my head, in my lungs, everywhere in the body, we're able to use this contraction. So a lymphangion contracting is lymphangiomotoricity, which is just a really fun word to say, I think. And it's good in Scrabble, so good luck with that. Now, you have lymph nodes, and we have tons of lymph nodes, but I can't tell you how many lymph nodes you have, because every person was given a different amount, and we won't officially know until either A, you die, which would be wasted information at that point in time, or if we were to go in and inject dye all throughout your body and count every single lymph node. But on average, we have anywhere between, some books will say 600 to 800 lymph nodes. I have seen one textbook that said 1,200 lymph nodes. And your lymph nodes, basically their job, like I said before, is to filter and clean and clear as much fluid as possible. Now, every lymph node has these afferent vessels, which means fluid going into the lymph node. And then we have 1 or 2 efferent vessels, which means they're exiting out of the lymph node. And we want that because we want to have lots of entrances and only 1 or 2 exits, because it forces the fluid to stay longer inside a lymph node. And lymph nodes are like little immune cell hotels. So we have cells that are called lymphocytes. And you would have heard of them as B cells or T cells if you've done any kind of searching or research into what is your immune system. And these cells produce antibodies and attack foreign pathogens. It's brilliant. And so again, we have all this fluid coming into the lymph node, and the fluid's exiting the lymph node. But if it's exiting this lymph node, it's going towards another lymph node. And the cycle just keeps going. So we have areas in our body where we have clusters. So this is a really good representation of what are clusters. So we have mother nodes or major groups, which is your axillary, your armpits, and your inguinals, which is your groin. And those areas, we call them mother nodes or major nodal collections, because in each of those areas, you should have anywhere between 30 to maybe 60 nodes in each armpit, as well as in each groinal region of your body. And so that means that they can move massive amounts of fluid, and they are responsible for moving a lot of fluid throughout your body. Now, half of all your lymph nodes in your entire body are found in your abdomen alone. So let's say you had 800 lymph nodes, 400 of them are in your abdomen. And they're great because what we're looking at is you're absorbing nutrients and water and proteins and sugars and everything from the food that you're eating. And we want to make sure that that's as clean and clear as possible, and that if you're bringing any kind of pathogens in from the food you're eating, that we're attacking it right away. So we have a lot of lymph nodes in our abdomen. We also have a lot of lymph nodes in our neck or cervical region. We also have a couple in our elbow crease, and we have some behind our knees. Those are the bigger clusters. And we do have areas around the body where there's maybe 1 or 2 lymph nodes, but those are normally closer to the end of an extremity. So we do have some in our wrist, we have a couple around our ankle, we have some at the top of it and behind our ears, we have a couple on our face, but they're just, little starter lymph nodes, and eventually that fluid's draining to a larger collection of lymph nodes. It's awesome. So here we have a diagram that's showing you the lymph collection that happens from the breast tissue. A lot of times the breast tissue gets overlooked. And unfortunately, it's become sort of a topic that nobody really wants to talk about. But lymphatic drainage of the breast is super important. When we think about what the breasts actually do, when we look at how hormones affect women every single month, when we look at how the breasts create milk, if we look at how the breasts, deal with production of milk, but also the ejection of milk, and how the hormones play an effect on the tissues, they also create a lot of swelling. So we want to make sure that the pathways to remove that fluid are nice and healthy and clear. So the amazing part about the breast tissue is that 3/4 of it is going to actually drain to the armpit, whereas 1/4 is going to go towards your sternum. You do have some nodes that are sitting deep, hidden in between your ribs. So a lot of therapists will not work with breast tissue. At our center here, we specialize in working with lymphatic tissue almost anywhere. So we work with lymphatic tissue inside the nose, inside the mouth, inside the ears, on the eyeball, around the brain, around the bones, the nerves, and especially the breast tissue. So women who are going through PMS, women who are going through lactation, having difficulties with fluid congestion, mastitis, women who are going through menopause, women who have had breast cancer, have had lobules removed, have had a full mastectomy, the other breast is affected as well. And if you look at this diagram and you see how these vessels are draining the breast up towards the armpit, if you put this woman into an underwire bra, you get a lot of compression right here. And you can actually cause a lot of congestion on the sides of the breast tissue. So we like to make sure that that fluid is all moving really, really well. So the other great part about having a clinic is I have garment fitters. And so we do bra fittings and we do mastectomy prosthetics and clothing that is designed to allow the lymph to move as freely as possible. It's all a part of the picture of how do you keep your immune system happy and healthy. I love this diagram. I can't tell you how much I love these diagrams together. Your lymph nodes, their job is to keep your immune system healthy. And if they were all sitting right underneath the skin, how easy would it be to damage those lymph nodes and cause trauma? So I love that our body was strategic in how it developed and created and put lymph nodes in locations that would protect it. If I go into fetal position and I bring my arms in, I keep my armpit nice and closed and protected. When you look at how lymph nodes are found in your armpit, you have some, what we call superficial, or here you'll see level 1, just underneath the skin. But look how they travel deeper and deeper into your armpits. So we actually call this the axillary pyramid, okay? And that is where you have all these beautiful clusters of nodes getting deeper and deeper, and they're so well protected. If you put yourself in fetal position, majority of your lymph nodes are protected and safe. And that's why you see them in joint spaces where we can close them, we cover our belly when we go into fetal position. That is the amazing part of how our body was designed. So I geek out over this because it's bloody awesome. I love it. Here's your deep abdomen. I love this picture. This is from a book called Netter's Anatomy. And if you think the human body is amazing, just like I do, invest in this textbook. It's worth it. It is basically like a beautiful picture book of everything about the human body. And they took away all the intestines, they took away the liver, they took away the stomach, and what you get to see is the deep blood vessels in the abdomen. They're right in front of your spine. So this is like super deep in the abdomen. And around each of those large blood vessels, we have all of our beautiful lymph nodes, and they're found like around your intestines, around your stomach, all these beautiful places in your abdomen. And they're going to follow along the pathways of our large arteries and veins, bringing that lymph all the way up. So they actually get to use the benefit of those large arteries and veins contracting to maximize the fluid moving up. So it's sort of like, following somebody on the highway really close to get the tailwind, so that way you're protected and you're not having wind resistance. I kind of think of it like that. They're using the contractions that are happening in those vessels to give them a boost to move the fluid up past the next valve and up and up and up. So it's absolutely amazing. And then you can see how the lymph nodes come into the groin down here. This is the very top of your thigh, and that's the groin right there. So if you were to sit, this is the crease that happens between your thigh and your trunk. So you have a nice cluster of lymph nodes there, and then we start going down the leg. It's awesome. So one of the things that our body also does is it has these things called watersheds. And lymphatic watersheds work like this. Your body said, look, if I make lymph on the right side of my body, which lymph nodes do I go towards? And instead of saying, okay, well, if you made it on the right side, let's just take it all the way over to that would be wasting time, right? I find the lymph is kind of like, let's be efficient and fast, and let's get to the lymph nodes as quickly as possible. So instead of taking this alternate sort of like leisurely scenic route, it like punched it into Siri, and Siri was like, you know what, we're gonna go take the fastest route possible. So if I made lymph here on my upper chest, on the skin of my chest, it's gonna go to my lymph nodes in my armpit. So there are naturally occurring watersheds, which are like dividers. It's not a physical structure. It's not like a fence. What it is, it's almost like imaginary boundaries that your body said, look, it's just easier that when we divide the body straight down the middle, all the lymph that's made on the right side will go to lymph nodes on the right. And all the lymph you make on your left side is just going to go to lymph nodes on the left. See, it's just super easy. So it sends it that way, okay? So that is this beautiful watershed right here, divides your body into left and right, okay? Now these watersheds I'm showing you are just the ones that are just under the skin. Okay, there's lots of watersheds. Every organ has its own watershed. There's so many. But the main ones, this middle one, and then I'm going to show you this one here. It looks like a belt. So we call it the belt watershed, or you can call it the horizontal one. And what it decides is that starting at the belly button, if I make, let's say, lymph above my belly button, on the skin above my belly button, it's going to go to my armpits. But if I made lymph, let's say, down here, over my right abdomen, it's going to go down towards my groin, my inguinal nodes. So again, it's just how can we be as efficient as possible? Okay, there's situations where these boundaries get moved, they change. And that's where, as a trained lymphatic therapist, I'm able to go in and feel which way the lymph is going. Is it respecting these watersheds? Did it find an alternate route? Maybe there was construction. Maybe there's a huge scar in the way and it had to take an alternate route. It had to go a different way. So the body is amazing in its ability to be efficient and to get the best results and try and help keep you as healthy as possible. So these are just some of the unique pieces about what is the lymphatic system. So your upper arm, your whole upper extremity, which is your arm, the hand, it actually drains around to the back. And then from there, it goes up the arm and it tries to stay along the inside of the arm. Because again, if I go into fetal position, my inside of my arm tucks in against my body. So again, all about protection. It goes all the way up to those armpit nodes, those axillary nodes. Here's my lower extremity. And what you're seeing is that from the bottom of the foot, all the fluid comes around onto the top of the foot. And from there, it goes up along the inside of the legs. The majority of it is going to go up along the inside seam of the legs, all the way up to the groin. And the picture that you have on the right-hand side of your screen is called the femoral triangle. And the femoral triangle is this beautiful little cornucopia of nodes and vessels. And if somebody were to have massive trauma in their femoral triangle, it normally doesn't bode very well for their survival. Because a lot of major vessels will be damaged, and for your lymphatics, it's where all the fluid moves for your legs. So if that becomes injured, then we definitely have to find alternative routes for our fluid. So that's the basic anatomy of what is your lymphatic system. Let's talk about how it works, okay? Every day, you make on average between 1.5 to 4 liters of lymphatic fluid, and it gets dumped back into your bloodstream. When I first learned that, it was mind-boggling to me because I couldn't imagine having that much fluid created every day and put and cleaned and brought back to my lymphatic, back into my bloodstream. It was amazing. So what it is that every day I make 1.5 to 4 liters, and that is my lymphatic load. So here is my lymphatic load. That's what I make every day. But the amazing thing is that every day, if I had to, I could move up to 10 times that amount. I could move between 15 to maybe 40 liters of lymph if I created it. It's astronomical. It's absolutely amazing. So my total transport capacity, which is that first column, is how much my body could move if it had to, working as hard as possible. Okay? So everything above what I needed to use today. So today, I saw some clients, I had a meeting, I'm doing this. I haven't given my body a reason to make more than my traditional, let's say 3 liters of lymph. Let's say I'm impressive and I made 3 liters of lymph. There's nothing that's happened today that's made me potentially make more. So everything above what I needed is just in reserve. It's there in case I need it, okay? There's different things that happen that could make me require to make more lymph or make me make more lymph that then I have to process. So let's say I went and sat out in the heat and I was sunbathing and I was enjoying the beach. Absolutely, I'm gonna create more lymph. The heat, maybe I get a sunburn, that's gonna cause inflammation, that's gonna cause fluid. I'm probably gonna maybe move 6 to 8 liters, I don't know. Maybe I went to, this is gonna show my Canadianism, I went to Dairy Queen and I had a blizzard and I ate a lot of dairy and my stomach doesn't like that. So my stomach gets all irritated and my digestive system gets irritated and I make and irritate my digestive system, which means it gets slightly inflamed. I've made more lymph, okay? Somebody gets a tattoo. If somebody, there's so many reasons why you make more lymph. You get injured if you were to sprain your ankle, if you had an allergic reaction. All of those are great reasons why your body makes more lymph. And that's okay, because like I said, I could move up to 30 liters. That's totally plausible. Now there's certain situations where my daily amount exceeds my total transport capacity. And these are conditions that cause a lot of swelling, but it's not because of the lymphatic system, it's because of another problem somewhere else in the body. So congestive heart failure. When I was pregnant with my twins, I made a lot of fluid and I went to bed every day and I was like, how come my lymphatic system hasn't moved this? And it's because my body was making more fluid and there was more restriction on the fluid movement that I still had leftover lymph. So what happens is when you make more fluid than your total transport capacity, you get swelling. It's obvious, it's visible. Okay, if somebody has what we call chronic venous insufficiency, where their veins don't work really well, so the lymphatic system has to take over more work, that's a lot of fluid that moves. So those lovely individuals who have more fluid that's accumulated into their ankles by the end of the day, but then the next morning it's gone, that's called chronic venous insufficiency. Now, if I go and do lymphatic work and help move that lymph fluid, I can't make the lymphatic system work harder than it already is. We've actually surpassed the total transport capacity of my system. So me getting lymphatic work done, I can't make my lymphatic system work harder. It's already maxed out. So the best thing that we could do would say, elevate your limbs. We would say, go for a walk, move, get all the muscles moving, et cetera, to try and help process that fluid, but we can't make the lymphatic system work harder. Now, there's times where somebody gets a dynamic insufficiency, like I had it with my twins, and then I gave birth and everything was fine, okay? But there's times where somebody, let's say, has chronic venous insufficiency, they've worked at a desk their whole life, in the last couple of years, their ankles have gotten more and more swollen, and it's recovering in the morning, but now you know, they go to bed and they have lots of swelling, but they wake up the next morning and it's not really all gone. So their system's not really catching up. So they might have now caused so much stress on their lymphatic system that now we've gone from a dynamic insufficiency, the ability to move the fluid because we're making so much, to now we have a mechanical insufficiency. When the lymphatic system becomes damaged or overtaxed and it gives up, we call this mechanical insufficiency. So this is great examples of like surgery. The most common reason we're looking at breast cancer surgery, where lymph nodes have been removed, radiation therapy, it damages the lymphatic vessels, infections, there's certain parasites that get into our lymphatic system, trauma, significant trauma can damage the lymphatics, cause scarring, and then the lymphatics don't move fluid as well. And there's even individuals who are born without a perfect lymphatic system, where either the vessels are very small or they're really large, the valves don't work properly, and for all those reasons, they might only make that 3 liters of lymph, just like I do every single day. But what's happened now is that their lymphatic system can't even move those 3 liters. The lymphatic system itself could maybe only move, 200 milliliters. And so that's where you get visible swelling without even making extra lymph. So these people have conditions like lymphedema. So that's a very common condition that we deal with here at our clinic, is individuals who've had damage to the lymphatic system that now need a manual therapist to work on it, compression garments, all the extra fun stuff. So I do a talk as well about lymphedema, and we also do a talk about how compression garments work, because they are very different and there's so many little details about it. So if there's something that you want to learn that way, reach out and I'll share with you how to get access to those talks as well. So if the lymphatics don't work, remember that picture we had, like the second or third slide, where it had red arteries coming in, there was a capillary bed, and then the blue vein, and inside you saw these green fingers come in, those were the lymphatics. What if we had tissue and cells and there's no lymphatics? The lymphatics are broken, right? So it's like there's a sign on it that says out of order. This is what happens to your tissues. That fluid fills up your tissue spaces and doesn't get drained out, because remember, our veins can only move between 8 to 10%. And so really you start seeing this buildup of tissue, and you'll see it on the diagram there, it says lymphedema. So that is swelling that is caused by a damage to your lymphatic system. So what helps your lymph move? Like really, we talked about the nice contractions that are happening inside our beautiful vessels and helping the lymph move. But remember I said we were talking about diaphragmatic breathing. So diaphragmatic breathing is when we do a nice inhale in and our belly pushes all the way out. And then we breathe out, our belly flattens and pulls our belly button towards our spine. When we do diaphragmatic breathing, our diaphragm, which is kind of like an umbrella inside between our thoracic or our chest cavity and our abdomen, it's sort of, when we take a deep breath in, it pushes all the way down. And when we breathe out, it comes back up. And as it's doing that, there is a slight milking that happens to our larger lymphatics, but additionally, the pressure difference that changes between our chest cavity and our abdominal cavity helps move that lymph up and out of our abdomen. So remember, if half of your lymph nodes are found in your abdomen, and if all the fluid in your legs is working constantly against gravity to get all the way up to the base of your neck, any little thing you can do to help it move is beneficial. So could you be sitting at a red light and doing diaphragmatic breathing while you're sitting there? Absolutely. Could you be doing this while you're sitting at your desk? Yes. Always great. I love giving people homework while they're on the toilet, because you have to use the toilet so many times a day. And if you're doing one task, you might as well throw another one into it. And diaphragmatic breathing, it's completely sanitary and there's no problems. So why not? So diaphragmatic breathing is number one. Okay. The second thing you can do is you can keep your muscles moving. So a lot of our lymphatic vessels travel alongside the major blood vessels, and sometimes they're found everywhere. So you have them all around your muscles that help you move, you know, your traps and your calves and your quads and your hamstrings, all over your body. And we do have areas where we have lymphatic vessels that go between two muscle bellies. So if you have a lymphatic vessel, like you see here in the diagram, the muscle's all nice and relaxed, but when the muscle contracts, it pushes against that vessel that's located between it and forces the fluid up, goes past that nice valve that's found in our lymphatics. And so when the muscle relaxes, the fluid is up one step and it can't go back because the valve works. So anytime we can get our muscles to be contracting, helps our lymphatics move. And the most common one that we see when it comes to lymphatics is moving our calf muscles. Because again, the further away from the body, the lowest part away from the heart, is going to have the most work to get the fluid up towards the base of our neck. So if I do ankle pumping, which is where I put my legs out and these are my feet now, just for now. And if I pump my ankles, the calf muscle contracts, and that's gastrocnemius, as well as another muscle called soleus. Soleus is called our heart muscle because it helps with circulation. So we love having ankle pumping. So anytime I have a client who can't be mobile, anytime I have somebody who's coming back after surgery, they're going in for surgery, I'm like, look, you're going to be stuck in bed in a hospital bed. You want to do ankle pumping. You're on an airplane for like 16 hours to Australia, pump your ankles. Anytime you can keep your calf muscles moving, that's good for your lymphatic system. So you should see me on an airplane. I'm a hoot. Everybody at the back of the airplane, we're doing lymph exercises. You know, it's a party. So rebounding. So rebounding was huge in the late 70s, early 80s. Everybody had a rebounder. I even had one in my family. And my sister and I didn't really understand why. We just thought it was a cool trampoline because we weren't allowed to have the big ones. But rebounders are great because not only do they help your calf muscles contract, which is huge, there's something that you can do inside. It's low impact. It doesn't have to be big bounces. It can just be like little bounces. And there's an amazing phenomenon that happens when you start at a 0 point and you go beyond it and then push back up. There's a pressure difference that also helps with lymph movement. So we love rebounding. It's something that people who are scared to go out for walks, especially in the winter when it's really cold and icy, it's very easy to do. So you can get them in all different shapes and sizes. You can get them with the supports like you see in the picture. We always, you know, people donate the ones that they had and we gift them to clients who have difficulties with movement. We have 1 or 2 here at the clinic. My kids, I'm pretty sure at home just think ours is for fun, but it's good for lymphatic movement. So we encourage it all the time. This is dry brushing. Most people have heard about dry brushing for lymphatic movement. I love dry brushing. It is a simple thing that you can do at home. There are tons of videos on YouTube. I don't have my own because why would I reinvent the wheel? Some other people have done amazing videos on how to do dry brushing. When you look at a diagram, like the one that's on the screen, what I want you to look at is look at these lines. Do you recognize those from some slides past? Those are those watersheds. Remember we talked about watersheds are sort of like this naturally occurring dividing line that basically is saying, look, lymph, if you're made on the left side of the body, you should go to left lymph nodes. And if you're on the left side of the lower body below the belly button, you're going to go towards the inguinal nodes, towards the groin. So this is a very simplistic way using either a dry brush. I get clients to just use like those loofahs from the dollar store. You can use a face cloth if you have nothing else. And what you're doing is you're just following along the lymph pathways towards the nodes. And so find a YouTube video, follow it. It neurologically stimulates our lymphatics and very gently supports the fluid movement towards the nodes. So if you're doing it on your face, don't use a big brush or anything. Loofahs are even too big. I like to use those cotton pads. And when I'm putting on my toner, I follow along the pathways to get the lymph towards where the lymph nodes are. Amazing, really, really great. Compression garments. I love compression. I didn't understand compression for the longest time. And once I started to really look at it scientifically and look at how it works, it's an amazing thing. I swore when I opened my Lymphatic Center that we needed to have a certified garment compression fitter. Somebody who did the measurements, who got the right compression, because it's not cheap. And if you're going to spend the money, it better be the right compression and fit you properly. So compression works like new skin, okay? As we get older and as we swell and go back and forth and swell and go back, that fluid stretches the skin. And if you ever notice somebody as they get older, their skin doesn't bounce back. It loses its elasticity. Well, that elasticity also created compression onto your tissues that helped keep fluid out. It was one of those mechanical things that physically prevented fluid from accumulating in your extremities. So as we get older, and as we've had swelling that keeps pushing the boundaries of our skin stretch, that increases even more so the need for proper compression. So compression is supposed to fit you like brand new skin, which means it has to be fitted for your limb. My husband has bigger calves, bigger feet, bigger legs than I do. Okay, most men do than women. There's exceptions to the rule, but that's a good rule. What happens is that if I put on my husband's compression socks, they're too big for me. So if I have swelling issues and I put on his compression socks, there's no pressure on my tissues and my legs will swell until the socks provide resistance, which would be quite a lot of swelling. If he wore my compression socks would be too small and would cause too much compression and would damage my lymphatics and prevent fluid from getting out of his legs. So neither one of those are really good situations. But if I went to a garment fitter and they measured around my foot, around my toes, around my ankle, around my bottom calf, around my mid calf, around my top calf, around my knee, measured the length from my knee to my ankle, and said, this is the compression garment you should wear. When I put it on, it feels like new skin. And there's compression. You can physically feel it. And its job is to prevent fluid from going down into my limb in the first place. So wearing compression before you have lots of swelling is the key to preventing swelling in the first place. So we do a lot of compression as preventative measures. But if you do have swelling, it's a wonderful way that once we get the swelling out, that you can keep it out without me having to work on you every single day. So compression garments are really great when worn properly and when maintained. It's really an awesome way of working with your lymphatic system. So I wear them when I fly because atmospheric pressure changes. I wear them when I'm going to be sitting all day, when I'm going to be standing all day. You know, if I'm sitting at home watching movies with my kids and then going for a bike ride, I don't need my compression socks. But if I'm teaching for 8 hours in front of a class on my feet all day long, I wear compression. If I'm going to be sitting in a car for 8 hours driving to Kamloops, I'm going to wear compression. All of those are really good situations where I'm not going to be moving and I'm not going to be using those other little tools that I can to keep my lymph moving. So, pneumatic compression pumps. So pneumatic compression pumps are a physical electric tool where it is basically you're wearing like a snowsuit. It looks like a snowsuit. I can't say it any other way. If you don't have snow where you are, lucky. But basically it has chambers of air, like air-filled chambers. And what happens is it compresses, it fills with air near your feet, and then it listens off as it fills near your calf, and it works sequentially all the way up your body. And its job is to help move the fluid and keep the fluid moving up out of the extremities. We don't see tons of this here in Canada. There's not a lot of companies that sell pneumatic pumps here in Canada. In the US, there's a lot more companies and availability, but I'm not going to say that they're a common option because of the cost. They're very expensive. On average, I did look at a unit, this was probably about 4 years ago. I looked at a unit for a client and it was very similar to the one that's on the screen, and we were looking at about $11,000. So yes, it's an option. It's a great option if you are traveling really far to get to a manual therapist like myself. And there's times where that does happen. I have people who drive from Sylvan Lake, and for Calgary, that's like an hour and a half. I have those from Jasper. That's quite a few hours longer, from Saskatchewan. So it's really, it can be an option if you need it. Some insurance companies will cover them, but it's not super common yet. And until there's more competition that brings down the price, I don't think we're going to see it a lot cheaper either. So here's to hoping, right? So lymph drainage therapy. So that's the major therapy that we practice here at the clinic. There's a long history to what is lymph drainage therapy, and if it's something that's really interesting to you, you can definitely research it online. I do a 2.5-hour talk that really goes into the background of what is lymphatics and how does it work, as well as the history. But your lymphatic system being supported manually by a therapist, where we can feel if the lymph is going the right way, if it needs to be supported into a new direction, rerouted. Maybe we need to be doing compression garments. Maybe we need to be doing a lot of different things. But doing lymph drainage therapy is a phenomenal way of supporting the lymph movement and keeping the fluid moving. So there's a lot of conditions where we work with fluid movement to keep your body healthy and happy. So we look at allergies. You want to look at, we can talk about anything that has swelling, conjunctivitis. We can look at otitis media, so middle ear infections. We can look at sinusitis and rhinitis, any kind of swelling or issues within the teeth or the mouth. We can look at digestive concerns. We can look at inflammatory bowel conditions. We can look at irritated urinary tract. We can look at premenstrual syndrome. We can look at skin irritations like acne and psoriasis. We can talk about glaucoma. We can look at arthritis. There are so many conditions that by doing lymph drainage therapy can help either relieve the symptoms, or if that's a condition where there's flare-ups, we can help prolong the latency where there's like a period between the flare-ups. We're looking at lupus, or we're looking at Lyme disease. There's so many conditions that by working with the lymphatic system, boosting your immunity, making sure your organs are functioning properly and they're not congested with fluid. It's definitely something that when I first started back in 2005 doing lymphatic work, I did not even believe or contemplate that it worked as well as it did. And within a very short period of time after taking my very first class, I realized that this could be the one thing that I focus on for the rest of my career and never get bored of, and make such a critical difference for the majority of my patients that I'm probably now about 90% doing lymph. I only do a little bit of massage, and those are for my clients that I started with like way 20 years back. But the majority of my practice is lymph. And it has not disappointed me in results, in helping my clients feel better, have better immune responses, going into situations like going back to school. Right now it's August when I'm doing this taping, and this is the year, this is 2020, so obviously COVID just happened. And I know one of the things that's on everybody's mind, for me at least, with my kids going back to school in September, I'm doing a lot of lymph to myself, a lot of lymph to my kids. I'm trying to get their teachers in to get lymphatic work because I can help their immune system get stronger, create more lymphatic cells, and get them ready for all the things they're going to encounter next month. So anytime you can boost the immune system, you give somebody a better fighting chance to help combat against flus and viruses and bacterias and germs, just germs in general. So school for me is just, it's a germ factory, and it's important to have the immune response and to go through and get sick, but it's also good to give yourself a fighting chance and arm yourself with the right tools to give yourself a good defense. So many reasons why I like lymph. And yeah, if you ever want to come in and try a session and you want to chat lymph with me, I can talk about lymph for a long time. I love it. One of the cool things that I was introduced to a couple years ago now was lymphatic taping. And this is such a great adjunct to what I do with clients. A lot of the times, the lymphatic system needs to have an additional support. And, you know, you can wear compression garments, great, but I have clients who can't wear compression garments, can't put them on themselves. There's situations where lymphatic taping is just awesome. So lymphatic taping is where we place, like kinesio tape, so therapy tape, and we place it in very strategic pathways to help move the lymphatic fluid more efficiently. So I describe lymphatic taping like taking the main road in Calgary is called the Deerfoot Trail, and we get to 100 kilometers an hour. And if I said that that's a healthy, normal lymphatic system, I feel like putting lymphatic tape is taking the Deerfoot Trail and making it the Autobahn. And you can go like 230 kilometers an hour. It drains fluid, amazing. So we use lymphatic tape in situations where even me doing manual therapy, maybe they can only see me once and then they're going on a flight and I need to try and get that fluid moving as fast as possible and give them some tools to take with them to be able to have better fluid movement while they're flying and when they get to their destination. And lymphatic taping is amazing. So these are just some different types of taping patterns that we use. So if you see somebody that has lymphatic tape, sometimes you see it where it's just cut in one or two and it's over joints. That's kinesio taping, supportive joint taping. This is lymphatic taping. And lymphatic taping, you get octopi. So you get to have an octopus here and an octopus there, and they're stretching their legs all around. And this is a nice big bruise that was on the thigh. And this is after they put kinesio tape on, and you can see where the trails were Deerfoot before, and now it's the Autobahn. This is all where the tape was and how it's decongested. So we use this a lot, especially like after plastic surgery, because a lot of times the scar tissue creates almost like a construction zone on the road, and it stops the fluid or it makes it take many, many alternate routes. And when I use lymphatic tape, it just streamlines it, cleans it out really efficiently and effectively, and really good results. So I love lymph movement and lymph taping. So there's a whole bunch of really great ways to get your lymph moving. So we do lots of talks, and I love discussing and talking about how our immune system works, the things that we can do, alternate therapies, instead of just, you know, I'm not against medications. I'm not against surgeries. I'm not against Western medicine. There's a time and a place for everything. And what I love about lymphatic work is how supportive it is, how non-invasive it is, how absolutely gentle and relaxing it is. I can maybe count on one hand the last 15 years how many times I've had somebody say, ow, while doing lymphatic work. It's an amazing therapy. And your immune system deserves to be looked at. It deserves and needs to be supported. You know, we're surrounded by, you know, things that bring our immune system down. We're surrounded by, you know, EMF. We're surrounded by sugar. We're surrounded by toxic chemicals. We're surrounded by so many things that challenge us on a day-to-day basis. And every day you could be doing something to help your immune system be more prepared, to be stronger, to be ready to come up against all those things. You know, I have 3 children who all have allergies. I have a husband who has asthma. I have 2 kids who have asthma too. Every day our immune system is attacked by, you know, it could be, you know, chemicals in our laundry detergent. It could be stuff in our makeup. It could be the chemicals in our hair dye. It's off-gassing from vehicles. It's carbon dioxide. It's all these things. And if you're living a happy, healthy life, your immune system is doing that for you every single day. And I love that I can provide a support. And I have clients who come in who have no major conditions, that just want their immune system to be recognized, supported, loved. And then I have clients who their immune system sucks. They have immunocompromised systems. They have autoimmune conditions. They have chronic fatigue. They have allergies. And I can help them too. It doesn't hurt. And there's no injection and there's no surgical incisions. It feels like magic, but there's so much science behind it. There is so much research behind it. And if you haven't experienced it, you should. There are lymphatic therapists out there, and not just here at my center. I love supporting lymphatic therapists, and we have them all around the city, all around the province, across the country. If you have questions, if you want to know more, you're more than welcome to send me an email. There's my phone number for the clinic. We're on Facebook. We have a beautiful website. You're more than welcome to check us out. If you are in another part of the country, another part of the world, and you want to find a lymphatic therapist, I might know somebody there. I'd love to help you find somebody, talk to somebody. But I also work with the Chickley Health Institute, which is based in the US. And if you go to their website, you can always go to a link that they have on the right. It's on the right column of their website, and it's called Find a Therapist. And Find a Therapist can help you find somebody who's in your area, somewhere around the world. I've been very blessed to teach in Australia and in Singapore, Kuala Lumpur, in areas around the United States. There are therapists all around the world who are starting to do more and more with the lymphatic system. And I would highly encourage you to research and to give this a try, to support your lymphatic system and to recognize its value and the importance that it has for you every single day. So it's been absolutely wonderful that I've been able to share this information with you, and I hope that you learned a lot. And please feel free to reach out if you have absolutely any questions or absolutely any concerns, questions, anything. It was lovely, lovely having you here join us today, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye.